later if she's not recording.
Okay, well, I'm recording now. So in lesson 2, we're going to use the line tool, the pencil tool, and then you will have some options down here at the bottom of your pencil tool. Am I sharing? Nope. There we go.
Nope.
There we go. So we're going to use the line tool, the pencil tool, and then depending on which options you choose, you will have some additional buttons down here that you don't always see. We'll look at the color panel and the swatches panel, and we will look at the weight of our lines that we can draw and the styles of lines that you have options for. So hopefully we'll get through all of that by 9:25. Good morning, Kyle. We've jumped right into lesson. We're in chapter 2, and when you open this file this time to create a new project, you're going to create it using the web options, and we're going to be using HTML5 code or setting today with a 700 by 200 size for our stage.
Is this file in,
this we're starting from scratch.
Okay. Well, because the project you told us to do in chapter 1, I was trying to do it, but it wouldn't transfer my pictures over to my library when I imported. And then I tried to unzip it. It still did the same thing.
Yeah, you should unzip it, and then you should have seen a folder for lesson 1, 2, 3, 4. And inside lesson 1, yeah, and inside lesson 1, you should have had photos, photo 1, 2, 3 in the background, and you'll have to import them one at a time.
I'll try that later today.
Okay. So I'm just going to kind of move to the side here so that you can see what I've got. Oh, and gradients. We'll look at gradients. That's what's happening with my cup where you have the highlight there in the center. So I'm going to start with actually the rectangle. I said the line tool. We're actually going to use the rectangle and the oval today. I don't know where the line tool came from. Rectangle tool. And I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to, whoop. My line is not a line right now. I was messing around. Okay. Okay, and my fill color. Okay, so here I'm going. I'm just making a rectangle. And then it gives us some sizes, 150 high by 130 wide. So it's a little wider or taller than it is wide. And so that's kind of our base shape. And so you're just creating a rectangle. And so what you need to understand anytime you create a shape is that a shape, when you create it, actually has 2 parts. There is a fill, the color that we're used to seeing, and a stroke, which goes around the outside. And so when you are working with this, if you happen to be in the Properties tab, you will see that there's a color for stroke and there's a color for fill. And so if I change that stroke color, whoops, let me pick it. If I change that stroke color, there we go. I can change that stroke color to green, except that I only got one of them. There we go. Make the stroke color green. There we go. So now you can see maybe that I have a green stroke all the way around my box. And these objects can actually move separately from each other. Okay, I'm not going to get into all of that today, but just know that you can do that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the oval, and I'm going to use that to create the bottom curve of my cup and the top curve of my cup. Okay, and so I'm just going to draw a circle or an oval right on top there and right on top or the bottom down here. Okay, I like that I've got that green line on there. It makes it easy to see on this brown. Okay, and so now I want to clean up just a little bit. And so I just drew 3 objects, three objects right on top of each other. And This is why drawing mode matters. So when you look down here at the bottom of your panel, you see a box that is the object drawing box. You want that to be off when you're drawing. In your text, give me just a minute.
Oh man, that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Unreadable, most of it.
Well, if my screen will quit scrolling back up on me.
I wasn't meaning to say that.
Huh?
I wasn't meaning to say that.
You got no business.
Okay. Let me click on share screen and I will go to this window. There we go. Okay, so in Animate, I want you to be able to see what I'm talking about as I say it. There's merge drawing mode, so that when I take a shape, just like I made that oval on top of the rectangle, when I take a shape and I put it over another object in merge drawing mode, and then I remove or slide or reposition that shape, it's actually going to take a chunk out of whatever's underneath it. That's very important, okay? Because it's going to change what you're expecting drastically. In object drawing mode, they're going to stay separate. They're going to stay like you stack objects if you create something on a Word document. Each object will retain its own shape. So putting a circle over the square is not going to take a bite out of it. But then there's also primitive drawing mode. Now, merge and object drawing mode, you're going to get the standard shape, and then you're going to have to customize the shape, and we'll do that here in a minute. In primitive drawing mode, it gives you controls to curve corners and kind of customize a little bit that way, but you don't get the opportunity to do all of the line modifications in primitive drawing mode. So there's these three different modes that you can be in. So you just kind of need to have an idea of, hey, I might use this for, I might use that for. And so before you get started and get frustrated, I just want to make you aware of the different modes. Okay? So back to the Animate. So now if I take this and I use my selection tool at the very top and I move this, notice when I moved, and I moved that top one for a reason. First of all, to highlight two things. Notice that when I move it, that space where it was at is now empty. So what drawing mode am I in? Merge or object or primitive? You didn't know you were having a pop quiz so quick, did you?
Merge.
This is merge, yes, because when you put something together, it merges them together. And object mode keeps them as separate objects. Okay?
Miss Stevens, where's that merge option? Sorry.
When you create a shape, the rectangle, the oval, whatever, then at the very bottom, you have a square with a circle in it. That's your object drawing mode. And if you click it on, you're in merge. Or I'm sorry, if it's on, you're in object. If it's off, you're in merge. Okay, because mine was off, and you can tell I'm in merge because I moved it and it took it out of the original spot. But also to highlight that stroke, remember I said a while ago, the stroke and the fill are two different objects. So here's the stroke. Notice I moved the color, but I didn't move the outline. So they operate separately. So I'm going to click using my selection button again, and I'm going to delete that. And because it's in merge mode, it also deleted the line underneath it. And then I can click and delete. And I can delete those extra lines that I don't need. So down here at the bottom, I can clean it up. Whoops, don't want to do that. And I'm just selecting those extra pieces and deleting them out. Ooh. There we go. Okay. So I made a rectangle using the rectangle tool. Then I made 2 ovals. And so it gave me this cylinder shape after I cleaned up the edges. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. So some things I can do now is I can select the whole shape. And I can use my free transform tool, or my transform tool. Oh, well, come on now. And I want to reshape it so that it comes in and I curve the sides kind of like this so that it starts to take on a mug shape is where we're headed. So the free transform tool.
Sweet.
I'm not getting my handles. That's what's throwing me. Ah, here it is. I'm sorry. It's the Southern Transform tool. Okay, so over here, it's the 3rd button down. Free transform tool. Turn it on. There we go. 3rd button down under your selection there. You got to click and hold because it was the gradient transform. Now it's the free transform. Okay. Then I can take it and this feature allows me to reshape, resize, whatever I need to do there. And if I will hold the shift command, shift command allows me to do kind of a perspective shift on it. So I can tilt it.
So for Windows users, would that just be control?
Yes, shift control for PC users. Okay, so shift command for Mac, shift control for PCs. Okay, and I can bring those in to kind of start to shape it like a cup. My sides come in on the sides. Okay. Oops, I'm sorry, I got 2 out here waiting to come in. I didn't see those.
Oh no.
Good morning, Caleb. Good morning, Mason. We've jumped in and we've started creating the cup out of lesson 2 using the rectangle tool and the oval tool.
I was about to ask who Josie is.
Yeah, Caleb. So I'm going to make that again using the rectangle tool. And again, remembering that you have a fill and a stroke that operate separately. I'm not using the color codes that they've given just so you can see on here. So there's my very tall skinny mug. I'm using the oval. I make the oval, I connect the lines, and I can come down here and make another oval. And then what I was sharing with them is using the selection tool, I can click the shapes And it allows me to delete those extra parts that I don't need in my cup and clean it up. And there we go. Then the third button down on the right is the free transform. And I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to shift command on a Mac, shift control on a PC. Whoops.
You might want to screen share again.
Oh, thank you. So I just did all of that for nothing.
Pretty much.
Okay, Mason and Caleb, quick run through. Why are you eating chips in front of me and not sharing?
How dare.
I know. Caleb.
The audacity.
All right,
I'm
so
not eating
rectangle
chips,
tool.
I'm-
Rectangle. Oval, you guys will know how to do this. My mother, she brings me a bag of chips. How sweet. It's nice having a full service kitchen right beside you while you're trying to teach class. Right?
said you wanted some chips.
There's my oval. Then I'm going to use the selection tool to select the extra and delete. Okay, and then the transform, free transform tool. This is transform. This is free transform. Make sure you know the difference because my brain just boggled at this hour in the morning. I'm going to select the whole object, holding shift command on a Mac, shift control on a PC, and I can perspectively shift my object.
You broke it.
I broke it.
For a second on my screen, it looked like you broke it.
No. Then if I let go of the free transform, the box, and I move around my object, what am I sharing?
Yes. You
Okay.
are sharing.
So here on the sideline, notice that my mouse, it changes the little shape that goes along with the mouse. There's a curve and there's a move sign, arrows. And so I want the curve, and I'm not holding any buttons. I'm just still in the free transform mode. No buttons selected. And so I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to kind of bow it out a little bit to give, you know how coffee cups, they kind of bow out? Anybody got a coffee cup handy?
Oh, I got a good one.
Kyle,
No.
oh, but yours is a straight kind of cylinder look.
Nope, but I wish I had some coffee
Sorry
right
about
now.
that.
Yeah, that's okay. But we know how a lot of times coffee cups just kind of bow out at the sides. Because, you know, those coffee drinkers, they need that extra
Oh.
whatever.
Oh, Carlos, you got us?
I got a monkey cup.
Oh, and look at, I even love the ears. Look at there. But do you see how
I do.
I'm touching the screen. Y'all can't see that. You see how the coffee cup kind of bows in the middle where the big mouth comes out? So most coffee cups kind of do that. Mine looks a little misshapen like it was a homemade pottery cup, but there you go.
Yeah,
So you
mine is
can
boring.
re-transform those lines and customize a little bit. If you feel like one line needs to be squattier or something, you can do that. Okay, so Mason and Caleb, what I was telling them is in here, once you draw a shape, the shapes are two parts. There's a stroke, which is the green, and there's the fill, which is the brown. Okay, so once I go to moving something around, by default, you're in merge mode, which means when I take a shape and I put another shape on top of it, this under part is no longer a separate object in merge mode. So if I take this off, it's going to leave a big hole right here. Okay, and you'll see that in your textbook. In object mode, it keeps them as two separate objects, just overlaying them like we're used to in Final Cut, or if you're familiar with Photoshop, you just stack those. But once you merge a layer, then they're one. So in the merge mode, that's the idea. If I put it on here and then I take it away, it's gone. Okay, so that's merge because it no longer exists under there. But in object mode, I take it away and it's all still there. Missing magic fingers. Do y'all like my magic this morning? Okay,
Whoa.
so drawing
Do
that,
better.
then I'm gonna hit on gradients right fast because we've got about 6 minutes. Gradients, how do I change this color? Because as you walk through the book, it gives you different color codes. Those are hexadecimal codes. Kyle, you're familiar with this from graphics probably, with the hex codes where you have numbers and letters that represent a color panel. Okay.
Yeah.
So under your color palette here in the middle, when I click on that, I have options. And so right now it's defaulted to solid color. So I'm getting that brown. Right here at the bottom of that screen is the hexadecimal number. It's 520308. But it could be 66.
Miss Stevens,
Yes.
can I add something with that?
Sure.
Actually, it's actually worth it, guys. If you want like a custom color and stuff like that, right under the that panel where she's selected, that's basically just a box with all the different shades of gray. It basically saves your custom colors as well.
Yes. Yes. You can add 2 swatches.
Yep.
Once you decide on the color.
It just
And you
saves
can
on
change the saturation of a color. You can change the brightness of a color. You can change the hue or the intensity of the color. Notice how it goes from kind of a oceany blue to a very intense blue. Okay, you can change the quality values of red in that one particular color, or the quality values of green in that one particular color. And when you pick it, you can add it to your swatches. And so then that next one right here is those 2 colors I just added. So you can customize that as well. Let me make sure I don't have anybody else out there waiting. No. Okay. So with that, under my color, right now it's on solid color. So whatever color that is, that's what color is going to be there solid. But I want to make it a linear gradient. And now it gives me the options, or it gives me a color bar that goes from dark to light. And so I can, it looks like 2 little houses, one at each end. I can click on there, double click on there, and I can choose a different color. And so now it goes pink to white, and I can change the white end to go to a greenish yellow. So now my coffee cup goes from pink to green. Can
That
see
looks
that?
weird.
So in your book, it talks about going from a brown to a different brown. But browns are boring. So you can customize it however you like. But suppose I want it, in the book, it has it hitting a highlight because there's a light hitting it. So again, now you're starting to think about kind of a 2D, 3D world where you're adding a light source and adding reflections and highlights and things like that. So my coffee cup, this flat color is not normal. It's not going to be natural. When you set a cup down, it's going to have, just like me, I'm looking at my cup right now, and you notice right here, there's this reflection, there's this shine on it, but it's darker over here and it's darker over here. It's actually darker here than it is over here. So your cup goes through a gradient of color, right? Okay, so we want to affect that as much as possible in our object. So while I have a linear gradient, my cup actually goes through multiple colors, and then it has that reflection part. So I'm going to just click on my color bar here, and I can add another box to add color. And I can move that to, you know, kind of a light gray. And so now when I click off of it, you can see that light gray kind of highlight reflection right there in the middle. Does that make sense? So in my color swatch, I could add another one, and I could turn this one to a dark blue, just so you can see. Oops, I don't have that selected now. Add another one. Make that a dark blue. So now you can see I've got that white line, I've got the dark blue, and then it goes to green. So you can add as many colors as you like in here. I can customize where they happen at along the course of the deal. If I have my object selected, I can. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. So I can make it be more pink, and then the color just gradually changes. So you can see everything's kind of moved to the right. So that's a way that you can kind of customize your objects using the shapes, using your colors, using your transform tool. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Mason, you good with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Everybody else kind of gave me a thumbs up or a head nod. So I'm going to end up stopping there because I've got to be in another meeting in 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to connect to that meeting. But that's kind of a quick highlight in using gradients and fills. Oh, the next thing was strokes. And so I'm going to use my pencil tool. I'm going to hit that real quick because that's kind of a convoluted thing as well. So I want to create steam coming up off my coffee. So with that, I'm going to use my pencil tool. And I'm going to decide what color I want my steam to be. I'm going to make my steam a lovely yellow. And then I'm going to choose my stroke size. How heavy do I want that? And I'm on the properties. I'm going to make that maybe a 5. I don't know. And you can choose the style of line you want or the weight of the line or whatever. And then under width, it gives you some different options of how you, like a calligraphy pen or a paintbrush. How do you want that to write? And so there's one that goes from thick to thin. Okay, and I'm going to choose that one. And then I'm just going to kind of draw some curves. And there's my steam coming off my coffee. Okay, then it also talks about this other tool that is about halfway down, looks kind of like an upside down mustache. It's the width tool. So like my coffee steam here, it's rolling. It's rolling. Brecken's just now joining us. But if you use that width tool and you pick one, whoops, we'll zoom in so you can see. And I pick one, that probably green wasn't the best color. It gives me these lines on here so that I can come in and I can shape shift, you know, airbender, and you want to be a shapeshifter. You can shape shift your object, and you have to move over the line and then follow the line out to grab a hold of that. I can do that. There we go. So you can shape shift your line to kind of customize that shape however you like. Okay. So that is the width tool down here right above the thumbtack, right above the thumbtack. So we've talked about the pencil, the oval, the rectangle, the draw object shape, whether it's merge or object. We've looked at the color swatches and showed you how to add multiple colors in there. Just remember to check to select your object first.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, and we're about to get off here. So just wanted to give you a heads up.
Sorry I'm late.
And then if I decide I wanted to get rid of some of those colors, then you can just drag them down and they delete. The little house on the color swatch, I can just drag that down and they delete. So there's my coffee, very green, toxic coffee we made this morning.
no.
I was about to say, are you drinking toxic waste?
Yes, sir. I have to put up with some of y'all, you know?
Ooh.
Okay.
That hurt my feelings.
I'm sorry. I love each and every one of you. Rectangle, oval, pencil to create the steam, the width tool to customize the steam, merge, object, and primitive drawing modes, which we didn't get into a whole lot, your color palette, and your color swatches. Okay, that's kind of a 500-foot view of the first half of chapter 2. Everybody okay with that? Okay, it's 9:28. I've got to jump off here and go to that other meeting. This will be recorded. Thanks to Toby for reminding me. And I will post this part into Canvas as soon as it finishes processing, and I upload it to YouTube, and then I send the link. So